Happy holidays fellas, Rainbow here with another Dead Ops Arcade 3 video. Since it's the end of the month, I figured I'd go over some of the patches made to DUA 3 in December specifically. There were two big updates made, one on December 8th and the other on December 15th. There's a lot of bug fixes, balance tuning, exploit patching, etc. So if I miss a couple things, I apologize, but this list will be mostly stuff that myself and the community has sort of figured out by playing, and also some stuff from the developer's Twitter page as well. Anyways, first up is the December 8th update. This update added the Room of Judgment event, which after completing round 65, you would enter into a place called the Room of Judgment, which allows everyone in the match to obtain a guaranteed second fate. There are 3 waves in this Room of Judgment. Basically complete each wave in the given time window, and the fates will then reveal themselves. And it's actually quite nice because the fates will be signified by something obvious, like the Furious Feet has fast boots, or the Firepower has a death machine on the stone, etc. Some other stuff. Max number of fates per player was now set to a total of 2, rather than being able to get as many as you wanted. All 6 fate stones are now present in the Room of Fate, rather than just 4 random stones. An option for DUA settings was added to the pause menu. You have the ability to toggle on and off things like text bubbles, text tips, crab tutorial on solo, floating damage numbers, and you could also have the round number appear on your screen as well. Something that changed also is that if you disable your floating damage numbers, it will now also disable it for all bosses. Previously, floating damage numbers would appear for bosses and certain enemies in the wild, even if the option was disabled in the menus. Host migration was added to public lobbies. On the Throne Room Arena, or rounds 57 to 60, fireballs can now land on part of the camping spot by the bridge. This isn't as bad as it might sound, as the fireballs usually land in a spot that you're not standing directly on. Also, wardens can now spawn in that corner as well. The Silverback Slideways bonus area no longer kicks you out when the timer hits 6 seconds. Some level design changes made to the Dead Drop Arena, or rounds 49 to 52, where there's a small barricade added to this part of the staircase, in an attempt to limit exploits in that area. The animation for entering first-person mode is also slightly different now and will sometimes be a bit disorienting, as it sometimes flips your camera and faces you in the opposite direction of where you were looking at just before. Seems like a bug, so hopefully it's fixed in the future. Full damage limited in the wild, but not removed altogether, so just keep that in mind. You could still die by full damage, but it is decreased. When rejoining a game after round 5, you'll now start with 0 lives instead of 3 lives. When joining a game mid-match, you are now ineligible to unlock the Reunited with Fidelina trophy, but you are still eligible to receive any calling cards. When you kill any bosses in the wild and during their underboss battles, they will now drop loot, which also includes a chance for a key. Mama Back no longer instantly dies from a gladiator's axe during the boss round. The Margwa icon in Deadly Dungeons changed from a small red dot to a skull icon, but some players on Xbox and maybe some other platforms too have reported issues where the Margwa icon appears as a black square. Same thing for an enemy like the Warden. So that about wraps up that update. The next update was about a week later on December 15th, where the spawn rate of Fate Stones in Deadly Dungeons was increased. Don't know what the exact percentages are now, but it's fairly common to see a Margwa in a 4-player match. Similar to DUA 2, if you have 9 lives and earn enough points for another life, you will be awarded one of the following rewards: Skeleton Army, Coat of Arms, or Boxing Gloves. Afterlife Ghosts are now faster. Visual effects for when Afterlife Ghosts and Spectral Hounds die are now less blinding. Mini-boss enemies like the 6-arm guy, Werewolf, and Margwa no longer drop loot when killed on their underboss battles, which reverts the previous patch, although the Blightfather and Skeleton King will still drop loot on their battles, and of course, they will all still drop loot in the wild. Speaking of loot in the wild, there was an exploit addressed related to obtaining unlimited treasure/keys by despawning bosses in the wild. Another exploit addressed was related to exiting and re-entering FPS mode during the Skeleton King battle. And yet another exploit potentially fixed is related to the War Store bonus room. The infamous God mode glitch is perhaps fixed. Seemingly the vehicles will just kick you out during the round transition as an anti-glitching mechanism or something. I think they should have just added a sign in the bonus room that says, "Vehicles out of stock for the holidays." I think also finally the little exploit on this arena was fixed where you could stand on this ledge. Anyways, there was a perma-slow bug related to the Nova Cloud from the Nova Crawlers that was fixed. Minimap radar on solo was restored to normal, as there was a brief period where it wasn't appearing at all. Some small fate buffs and nerfs. Divine Shield now has 60% longer duration for shield items, which are boxing gloves, saw blades, and barrels, instead of 50% longer duration. Divine Chalice now maxes out at 10 lives. Divine Shield now maxes out at 10 nukes. Furious Feet now maxes out at 10 speed boosts, and Fortune now maxes out at 10 keys. One small Fate nerf is that the Divine Chalice Fate no longer has 3 times revive speed, specifically when reviving a downed Divine Chalice player, though the 3 times revive speed still applies when reviving other players. So basically this only applies when you have 2 different Divine Chalice players in your match. They can revive each other super quickly. Also, a bug fix related to Divine Chalice players not being revived after a teammate picks up an extra life. Item pickups now spawn in during the Mama Back boss battle, but not weapons. For a brief period with this update, spiders became recurrent enemies after round 64, and there was a bug where they would all get stuck inside doorways and other out of bounds areas on the map, which was really an issue, but luckily it has since been fixed. Megaton splits are now recurrent enemies after round 64. They have more health than the typical splits that result from the Megaton dying. Also, some people claim that the Megaton spawn rate has increased after round 64, but I'm not too sure on that exactly. When Mama Back appears at the end of the rounds, she will throw banana bombs on the map as she jetpacks away. Some more bug fixes: players no longer die when exiting vehicles, players no longer get stuck in limbo when dropping into a deadly dungeon with fast boots equipped or when they're boosted into a dungeon, something like that. Players no longer able to unintentionally get more than 2 fates. Also, a possible fix to the Room of Judgment crashing on wave 3. If anyone watching is still crashing, let me know because I could be wrong. Also, during boss battles, there seems to be more banana bomb attacks from Mama Back, especially on later playthroughs like round 128. Split screen support finally added to DUA 3. For the first time in the DUA series, you're actually able to split your screen in half while in the top-down view. You need to make sure your screen is split in half before entering first-person mode though, or else the second player will be left in limbo. Also, there are some performance issues with split screen in the wild, although I guess that's not too surprising. Speaking of the wild, potential key spawn location added to the locked room near the beginning of the wild, where the flashlight is located. Also, a spring pad was added to that locked room as well. Also, there was a leaderboard reset performed at the start of Season 1. The leaderboard reset seemed a bit wonky, where it didn't seem to reset everybody, especially if you filter your leaderboards by your platform rather than Activision crossplay. Also, there's sort of a thing where you need to play another game for your entry to be reset. So it didn't really go, I guess, according to plan, but hopefully if there is another reset in the future, hopefully it's done in a more proper and fair manner. Also, one final thing that was a bit later into the month, I think, but you should now be able to rejoin a match in the wild without getting a black screen. Anyways, that about wraps up the video. I'm sure I missed a couple of things, so please again excuse that. But just want to crank out this video before the month ended and sort of take you guys through some of the changes in December specifically, because there were some changes made in November as well. But maybe some of you guys might have missed some stuff this month, or you haven't followed too closely. But anyways, thanks for watching and have a happy new year.